Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Believe in Arizona State, our weekly football podcast where we talk all things Arizona State football. My name is David Coleman. I'm your co host, along with my wonderful friend, consensus ASU All American, three-time All Pro with the Cincinnati Bengals, David Fulcher. Good morning, David.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing real well. A little sleepy because that game didn't start last night till 10:30 our time.
I know.
So I did watch all the first half, and I did watch the first couple drives of the second half, and then all I remembered after that is the back of my eyelids. So I had to go watch a few of the highlights. But David, well, just your first impressions. It's no joke playing USC and seventh, sixth ranked, and depending, almost got mixed up. Georgia almost got tripped up yesterday at Missouri. Missouri's got to be kicking themselves today for letting that one get away. And who knows, USC might have been a step or two higher. I thought they played awful hard for a while, David, and held their own. And just wondering how you thought the beginning of the game went and how it went throughout the evening.
Well, it's funny because, when we're looking at the game and I'm watching it, highly powered USC football team, and sometimes you can overlook a team. You can look past a team to next week's game. They look a little flat coming out, but they also played a little flat the week before against Oregon State.
You're talking about the Trojans.
Yeah, the Trojans. Yeah, pretty tough environment to play at Oregon State in Corvallis.
Yes.
I don't know if they were anticipating that tough of a game in the first half against our Sun Devils, but ASU played with them. They were right there with them, man. They didn't back down. I like the commentators talking about how the interim coach has stepped in and he still got those guys buying into play. And once again, I mean, it's a tough situation to be sitting in, but yet that first half, I would have said, even though they were down, I think it was 21-17 at halftime, I would have given the victory to the ASU, because they fought SC, even though SC played some good football, but they fought with them and they didn't shut it down at all.
I thought so too, David. You're very astute. I noticed this too. Every once in a while they'll pan over to the sideline. They'll show the coach. They'll show the sideline operations. I would have never in a million years, if you're just watching that game, you wouldn't go, "Oh, that's an interim coach." He looked very calm. He looked very poised. People were reacting to what he was saying. He looked very much in command over there. What I noticed, David, and I was wondering if you did. We haven't had a chance to talk about what we might talk about today, so this is a fresh question for you. The speed in which they executed yesterday. I saw Arizona State go to another level of speed of execution. What I mean by that is not just how quickly they were getting the plays off, but Emory looked quicker. X looked quicker. They just looked like they were operating. I think they knew they had to take it to another level, and it appeared that they did, as long as they could, before the physical beatdown of playing maybe guys just a little more talented, a little bit bigger, a little bit faster took its toll.
And I think so. I think sometimes you, as a team, you're playing against, the elite football players. The 5-star players who go to the big schools, the transfers, the new head coach at SC, the environment. That they're playing at the Coliseum. So yeah, Arizona State came out and they were on it. I think what happens, Dave, is that you get caught up, nationally ranked team. You're playing at their place. You're talking about a head coach who comes from Oklahoma, a historical football program, as we talked about with Anthony Munoz last week.
Sure.
They were good. They were really good. But Arizona State seemed to turn the motor up a little bit.
They did.
They were, if you were in your car and you turned the volume up from 0 to 10, Arizona State's football team seemed like they were at a 7 at the beginning of the game. But see, USC is a 10 all day, every day.
Right.
And I think Arizona State found themselves, because one of my former teammates said it looked like the defense was giving up. Well, I don't know if the defense was giving up, or was it USC's offense just so powerful that it took its toll against the defense. So this was a game that I thought, when SC went down and scored 7 points real quick, here we go again.
Right.
And it didn't happen that way. I think the Arizona State football team realized, hey, we can play with them. And then you could see that the muscle that SC had took its toll on the Sun Devils.
David, take yourself back to being a Sun Devil and take yourself back to playing on Sundays. You're in a game, you're in a game against a tough opposition, and there's a 3-and-out. Another 3-and-out comes up. How you're an athlete, you're a pro, you get on the field, you do your job, but you're also human. In the back of your mind, isn't your brain going, "Come on, offense, can't you get 2 first downs? Can't you put together 3? Give us 8 minutes off over here to reclaim." Does that kind of stuff go through the mind when
Oh, it
you're on the field,
does.
or are you just execute?
Oh, no, 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 Dave. I think it goes through the mind of a player because you just got off the field, 7, 8 play, 10 play drive, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You're tired. You need some water. You need to rest your legs a little bit. And then 2 minutes later, defense up, turnover, change, got a sudden change, got to get up and go. And that's hard, man. When you look at time of possession, I don't know the time of possession of the game, but I would probably say could have been, 2.5 to 3 to 1 of possessions as far as SC having the football longer than the Sun Devils have. And as a defensive player, when you're out there 60, 70, 80 snaps, maybe 90 snaps in a game,
Right.
it takes its toll. And sometimes you get a little frustrated because I saw one of the sideline guys with a water bottle as he was drinking it. He squirted it on the quarterback from SC, which was,
Quarterback from SC ran out of bounds. Looked like he said something back over his shoulder. One of our guys
yeah.
squirted either Gatorade. I don't think there's any. It was Gatorade or water. It probably wasn't our
And that's
finest
frustrating.
caliber. Yeah.
That's frustrating for a team. And I think that player just simplified and showed exactly how frustrated they were. And I don't know if
Sure.
that's discipline. I don't know if that's, I know that's not something that the interim coach teaches. Now, the interim coach is the running back coach. So it's not like he hasn't had his hand in the thick of things, but they didn't quit. I think they ran out of gas.
Sure.
You run out of gas, man. It looks like you're quitting. But it's tough, Dave, because nobody on the football field is a quitter. I didn't quit. Didn't win every game, but it's hard to maintain the excellence that you throw out there week in and week out when you're out there so long and you can't get off the field and you can't get off the field and then your offense can't stay on the field. So it makes it tough for you as an athlete to perform at the highest level that you want to.
Sure. I was looking at some of the stats. Soleil had 10 tackles again, 7 solo. And then as a team, they had 56 tackles. You're going to have 56 tackles. You were out there for 56. I mean, you were out there for a while. And you're right out of the number of snaps in a game. And then you and I were talking about some of the other stats that we saw. I believe Badger only had 2 catches.
Yeah.
Valde had 2 catches, 2 nice ones, one for a touchdown. X was able to score also on the ground. He had, I think, right around 65 yards. I thought he ran hard. I thought they played hard, but I'm not sure how many games we're going to, if the running game's going well and we're just beating them to death on the ground, I'm not sure how many games we're going to stay in where Badger's only getting 2 catches and Swinson's only getting 2 catches. Something else better be on fire if those 2 players are only getting 4 catches between the 2 of them.
And you don't want to, the rule of thumb is this: run the football to throw the ball. You got to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, put the pressure on the defense, and then you can set up the run. I mean, the passing by running. Some teams can't run the football, so they're expecting their quarterbacks to throw the football all day. And our quarterback threw the football quite a bit. I think it's 32 or 33 times, but it was 23, 24 of 32. Had almost 300 yards passing, a couple of touchdowns, even ran for a touchdown. You don't want the quarterback to manage the game. You don't want the football in the quarterback's hand to try to win the game. You want them to manage the game, and that means running the football. ASU the first 2 games, the X factor, almost 400 yards rushing, and the last 2 games, last 3 games, he's kind of been handled or slowed down a little bit. So,
He got
like you
30
said,
last game, 30 this, I think it was 60 some this game on about 12 carries, if I remember correctly, around those numbers.
and that's not him. I mean, that's not him. He needs to, for Arizona State to be successful, he's got to have that 100 and 110, 115 yards rushing game, maybe carry the ball 20 times because you want to take the pressure off your quarterback. And when you're thinking your quarterback or you want your quarterback to do all the work, he's there to manage the game. And when you can't manage the game, that means your third and longs. Your third, there were some third and 25s yesterday, some third and 20s. And, it seemed like every time they did something good, something bad happened. And can't do that against a team like USC.
David, you mentioned that last week. You probably mentioned it almost every podcast because it's important to you. And I think you know that it's important to a football game. You said you always look at third downs. What are their percentage of getting? But then I should have popped in last week, and it kind of hit me in the head throughout the middle of the week last week. I'm always thinking about what we do, and yeah, it's good to turn those third downs into a first down, but they're a little more difficult at 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17, and 3rd and 22. There should almost be a category of makeable third downs that we didn't get, and a stretch to turn a third down into a first down. And so then you go backwards and you say, what's causing us to have those 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 25? Is it penalties? Is it sacks? And I think we've seen both of those occur in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and Dave, you can't win football games if you don't win the first down. You have to win the first down. And what I mean by win the first down, it's 1st and 10. You need to be 2nd and short, 2nd and 5 or less. And if you're 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8, that gives the defensive ends, that gives those linebackers, that gives that
Right.
defensive coordinator the chance to blitz you, put pressure on you, so you can be in 3rd and long.
Exactly.
But when you go in first down and then you lose 5 yards and then 2nd and 15, that's hard to go get. And I think for a struggling offense or a struggling football team like Arizona State, makes it tough because you can't play a top 10 team and expect to be 3rd and long and expect to get that week in and week out, and it's not going to happen.
You're dead on. I had a chance yesterday. I was here in Michigan and had a chance to watch a little early afternoon football. A couple of those games started early, and you're dead. I was happened to be watching the Michigan-Iowa game, and that was one of those times you go into a fierce environment, but their line, they were averaging 5 to 7 yards on first down, giving them a play action pass option, or they were just basically stuffing it in for the next first down. And what happened? They took that crowd completely out. And so I think exactly what you're talking about is true is do you win first down? And how do you win first down? And they have the weapons. And Gata had another nice return on a kick. I think Emery's a fine athlete. X could be playing on Sundays. There's no question about that. I think Badger's game has lifted. We both see the guy that Swinson is. There's got to be some focus on getting off the ball on first down, sustaining some drives. And I believe, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think USC had around 348 yards passing. So, and you say this almost every week. When someone's putting up those kinds of numbers, you're probably not going to go into a run offense, because if they're putting up 348 passing yards, somebody's scoring. And they had several receiving and rushing touchdowns. They had 3 on the ground for sure. And I think that 2 or 3 in the air.
And I can just tell you this, man, it won't be easy for next week's game. And the University of Washington obviously lost to UCLA, and I got a special guest on the line right now. I'm gonna bring him in here a little bit.
Good.
But, let me tell you this, man. They University of Washington got a pretty good quarterback, and we watched him against Michigan State, and you and I was talking about that. What the heck happened to Michigan State? Well, it wasn't Michigan State. It was Washington beating them up. And I'm going to bring my special guest in here real quick, man.
Penix is no joke. He was no joke at Indiana. And he's no joke at Washington.
Well, hopefully I can get him all. Look at this. He done put the UW, University of. He is something else, man. There's my boy, Joe Kelly. What up, man? Can you hear me?
Boy, oh boy.
You're so wrong.
I can hear you loud. Loud and clear.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Hello,
we can
Joe.
hear you, man. Hey, man, welcome to the podcast here, man, with my co-host David Coleman, man. Believe in Arizona State, and I know you had to put that UW shirt on. And
you already know. You already know what I was gonna do. I was trying to see if I could find some UW patches to put on my face.
I can see why you two are friends. I can see it right now. Yeah. I can see the camaraderie.
Well, let me tell you something. We Joe and I are friends, but we weren't friends when we were childhood buddies or childhood guys in high school.
Yeah.
Joe and I both went to some South Central Los Angeles high schools. I went to Fremont High School. Joe went to Jefferson High School, and we had to play each other. I would say the 3 years in high school 3 times. And Joe was kind of vicious in high school. I was scared of him. Every time I line up, I'd run the other way when I saw him.
Well, you know what here, because you have to imagine, Dave. I in high school, I'm playing middle linebacker, and I'm all of 185 pounds. When I went to UW, I was 185. In high school, I was probably about 182. Forock was the same size when he went to when we got to the Bengals as he was in high school. So he and his other guy, the other safety,
Harvey Allen.
And Harvey, yeah, we have a man Harvey. Both of them played wide receiver and safety. The biggest wide receiver and safety tandem, high school tandem in the country. So you imagine how intimidating when those guys coming up and you're like this, and you're like, damn, that's a wide receiver, So I had to try and be mean, man, because those are some big guys, man. But those are some big guys that can play, both of them. We all obviously know what David's career ended up, and Harvey had a great career. Went to Vegas, went to the Seahawks for a couple of years. So that just can tell you the talent level that they had at Fremont. So we had a little talent at Jefferson High School as well.
Oh, yes, you did, man. I remember, I'm gonna go back. I'm still back at Jefferson. I remember Walter Cole.
Yes.
Probably the baddest. I don't want to use any foul language, but one of the baddest some guns in Los Angeles, man, playing football. And once again, Joe and I, growing up in South Central, we're around gang members and drug dealers and all the crazy stuff. We had gang members on our football team.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Walter Cole was a vicious football player, man.
Yeah, David, let me tell you this. He's talking about Walter Cole. Here's a guy who made first team all city as a sophomore, as a junior, and as a senior linebacker. And we're talking about talent from our high school. Myself and another linebacker named ML Harris. ML Johnson. I'm sorry, ML Johnson. I went to University of Washington. ML went to University of Hawaii. 4 years later, I'm coming out the #1 ranked linebacker in the 1986 draft. I go in the first round. ML Johnson, I want to think he went in the 8th round to Seattle. And here we are 4 years later. I was considered the best linebacker. I was not the best linebacker on my high school team. And the best linebacker on a high school team, and everybody that I've ever played with in college, and my 11-year NFL career, I would tell them, it's crazy, man. It was crazy. Here I'm getting talked about being the #1 linebacker, making an NFL first-round pick. I wasn't the best linebacker in my high school. And unfortunately, like Dave said, when Dave talked about gangbanging and, obviously is the crack epidemic that we grew up in, it was his family was part of that element. And he continued that tradition, unfortunately, with his family, and he wound up going to prison. And the crazy thing about when he went to prison, he did not get out until I retired in 1997. And my last year I played for Philadelphia in 1996, and he got out of prison in 1996 in York, Pennsylvania. And that's I talk to him every now and then, and just glad he's doing well now. He's a positive member of the community for the last 20 or so years. But I told him about Dave. Dave knew about him. Everybody in our neighborhood and our surrounding schools that we went to knew about him. But it's just unfortunate. This is about making. David and I have been fortunate to have the right support at home and being able to put ourselves in a position to reach the level that we reach.
Joe, I'm David Coleman. I'm the co-host. It's great to meet you. followed your career, loved it when you played for our beloved Bengals. And ask you a question here, and this could be for both of you, but Joe, I'd like you to answer it first. Obviously, your Huskies lost a tough one over the weekend.
Yeah,
They played their hearts out. Penix is no joke. He was
Yeah.
great for Indiana. Now he's super for you guys.
Yeah.
The question for you is this: obviously, next week playing Arizona State, David. Next week playing Washington. Is it tougher to play a team that's 5-0 and killing it, or one that's 4-1 that just lost a tough one to UCLA, who's going to want to come back and show that was an aberration?
Well, it's it's a two-headed snake. You can look at if we had won last week, I think we would take that momentum. We have that momentum. I think that it's more about the opponent that you play, because now us losing. If you have a veteran team, you can say, okay, here that stung a little bit. You go back and we're gonna go hard, this week in practice, and now we're gonna try to prove that when we were 4-0, we were as good as everybody thought we were.
Right.
So it depends on the maturity of the team. But like you said, despite the loss, I love the fact that they fought back. Penix, obviously, he faced adversity for the first time. Had only gotten sacked one time, I think maybe one interception, and he threw a couple of interceptions and he got sacked several times. But it's no excuses. We did have O lineman out. We had some of our starting defensive backs out as well for that UCLA game. So we had some young guys out there, and but the base and the strength of our team was our D line, and they didn't get it done against UCLA.
I look at it too. When we talk about Arizona State, who goes up against a USC team, played well in the first half, and I think they ran out of gas. And Dave and I was talking about this before you came on, that 3 and outs hurt. When you get a 3 and out on offense and you're a defensive player and you got to go back in the game, you just come off the field, and you remember our days coming off that field, man, when our offense wasn't clicking and we were on the field for 8-9 plays, all that type of stuff. When you get that, it's kind of hard to come back and play, but yet you still got to perform. And I think that's what happened with Arizona State.
Yeah. And I did get up on time, but I was able to, I watched the game, and you're looking at Arizona State going through a lot of adversity right now, with the firing of Herm. You look at, that you look at a team that's in transition, but I looked at the team, and you look at quarterback has a strong arm. They have a strong running game. They were making some plays. They were putting pressure on USC. They were rushing the quarterback. That was the first time this year I was able to watch an entire a game with Arizona State. But they're a team, and I say, guys, when you're in a transition like that, you want to prove to everybody that you belong. You want to prove to everybody that you're better than their record. And I think with University of Washington, we're going to have to finish licking our chops and go in and play an Arizona State team that has a chip on their shoulder. I think they're better. They look better. I watched the entire game, watching really to see what we'll be facing. And they don't have, it's not a bad team. Like Dave said, they were in the game. It was solid. They were competing against a very good, improved USC, a talented USC football program, and they were in there, and they gave up some huge. You see the 2 huge runs, touchdown runs that they gave up. 14 points. You take away those. Just take away those two plays, and you take off 14 points. In the game, emotionally, you're still in the game. So it's play here, play there, and they're in the game against the number 17 in the country.
It's really true. Knowing your team as well as you do, and Arizona State this week, if you were scouting for the other team, if you're saying what does Arizona State have to do to stay in that game. Obviously, one of them, pretty obviously, is control the man under center. That quarterback is playing at a very high level. What does Arizona State have to do, execution-wise, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to compete in this game?
They have to do what UCLA did. They have to rush the passer.
Yeah.
I love Coach DeBoer. Was able to go down and meet him. A lot of alumni we had, I don't know, maybe 80 alumni went to the spring game and met him, and he he welcomed us with open arms there, and we were able to meet with him and his entire staff. I think they have a tremendous offense. The offense is going to be tough to stop. What they have going is tough. You know, they I think they are supposed to get two of their starting offensive line back. But Arizona State, they have to rush the passer like they did against USC. You can't let Penix sit back. You know, we're putting 3, 4, 5 men out in the route, and it can be tough. And we play at a quick tempo.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to do that, and then they're also gonna have to do what UCLA did against us, and that was attack our defensive backfield. We have some young, inexperienced players, and UCLA was able to attack those guys, and that quarterback from UCLA is pretty special. You know, like the kid at Arizona State,
Yes.
he's strong. He has the ability to run. He has a strong arm. I don't think right now he's playing at the level of the quarterback at UCLA, but you know, I've seen some really good things for them, and we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be a 60-minute game. I don't think we're gonna go in and blow them out and they'll be out of the game. I think having the record that they have, they're gonna come out with some piss and vinegar, and you know, and hopefully we get up early to break their will. But if we let them hang in there and make some plays like they're capable of doing, it's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, I saw go ahead, David.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up on the UW side, and you know, Arizona State. When I'm watching the game last night, you know, the fight was in the dog. You always talk about, you know, the fight is in the dog. You do what you do, but I always go back to, you know, I was telling Dave earlier about, you know, third downs, man. When you can't get off the field, or when you can't get a first down on third down, it makes it tough for you, man. And we've been in games where we've had, you know, 80, 90 snaps, you know, at the end of the game. I think we were in, if you can remember, Joe, I don't know if you were with us. I think you were. We were in Dallas, and we played the Cowboys in Dallas, and we probably had 5 guys at the end of the game pass out from dehydration, losing all the fluids and passing out because it was 900 degrees in Dallas. They had the stadium cracked open. The sun was sitting the sideline on our sideline, and 90-something snaps. By the time we got in the locker room, dude, there was no fluid left in the body. And then here in Wilmington, our training camp, we used to always die up in Wilmington because it was too hot. But once again, I think, and you said it, I don't think Arizona State is going to come in this game and go, it's Washington, we're scared. I just think they have to execute. They got to rush a passer. They got to put pressure on this young kid at quarterback. And, you know, once again, you go from, you know, the 7th ranked team in the country to a team that lost to UCLA, but still a ranked football team that beat Michigan State up pretty bad. You know, this is going from, you know, fighting Mike Tyson to fighting Evander Holyfield. It doesn't change. It doesn't change, you know, and you still have to throw the punches. And if you don't throw the punches, you're going to get yourself knocked out. And I think, you know, for us, and we're competitor, you know, here we are, and we're still wearing our stuff on our shirt. We're back doing what we do because we're competitors. We don't want to see our schools lose, but yet, you know, they've got to fight. Arizona State's got to fight ahead against them. And I think it's going to be tough. It's always going to be tough when you're playing in the Pac-10, the Pac-12. I was talking to Anthony Munoz last week, and he said, "I'm sorry, Dave, I'm not as young as you guys are. It was the Pac-8 when I played."
Yeah, I remember
Trust
that.
me.
He was all Pac-8, all Pac-10.
I know, man. It's tough.
He had the eligibility. He'd be all Pac-12. So
Joe and I are, you know, we're all Pac-10 players. You know, and somebody asked me about, you know, and I asked you this question too, Joe. What's your thought about all these teams leaving the conferences, going to these other conferences when we grew up Pac-10 football players?
Well, I tell you what, one thing that is going to happen. We don't, the West Coast, the talent, the football talent we have at the West Coast is not. I don't think they're getting the type of publicity based on the type of players. Obviously the SEC is big right now, but I can tell you this. I believe we have a strong alumni group at UW, and we talk about it. But it's like literally here to watch the game last night. I went to bed at 2:00 in the morning. UW Friday. I went to bed. The game was over at 2:30 in the morning. Here, nobody's the East Coast. Nobody on the East Coast. Hey, I may catch because I'm at the end of the day and I've been watching football since noon. Now at 10:30, I'm winding down, or if I'm a fanatic, I'm at the bar and I'm having my last bourbon, my last beer, and I may catch a half. So here, I don't remember playing many night games. I think we played one in Arizona. When we came to Arizona State and we played Arizona State, that was a 3:30 game. But that when the Pac-12 changed to that format, the East Coast people, the Midwest people are not seeing the Pac-10, Pac-12, and therefore you're not getting the recognition that the top teams are not getting the type of recognition, and therefore you're not getting the money. So here, when you look at the Pac-12 and the TV, this thing is money. Here, you're talking about, I think Pac-12 teams are getting 25 mil or something like that, and you jump to the Big Ten and you're getting 100.
Yeah.
So I think it's, in my opinion, I think it could be the death of the Pac-12 because you're losing the Los Angeles market.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the California Regents can stop the move with UCLA because they're part of the California Cal State system.
Yes.
SC unfortunately is gone because they're a private university, and you have that. And I don't think there's two other teams. If both of them wind up leaving, there's not two teams, top tier teams that can add value to increase the amount of revenue and TV revenue that it would take to keep us together. You can try and see, it would have to be a Big 12 team, a SEC teams to come in and be part of the Pac-12. When you look at it, just for instance, and no disrespect to the other teams, if you're adding a Nevada Reno, you're adding a BYU, you're adding, when you think about potential teams that you can add to the Pac-12, there's not one program on that side of the United States that's going to give us or increase our value. Yeah. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for the Pac-12 to stay viable. And I think it's going to be. You look at, and the talks are Oregon and Washington, and if Oregon and Washington depart the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is dead.
It is.
So, I'm hoping that we can do something. I was hoping that they could start and change the time format and put some, so even if USC and Arizona State, despite Arizona State's record, if they're able to be on the 3:30, there are people going to say, man, Arizona State, got a pretty good team. Right. I'm going to watch Herm Edwards. Like, what's this stuff going on with Herm Edwards? But I'm going to look at a pretty good, decent ball that's playing the number 17, to the wire. Hey, they gave up and got wore out in the fourth quarter. But you look at SEC, you look at all those games, you look at Oklahoma getting whooped by 20-some points. You look at Ole Miss winning. You look at a lot of top tier teams, SEC teams, going down to the wire. Hell, Missouri had Alabama. They had Alabama. I just needed one drive in the end.
Georgia, that was Georgia. They had Georgia. No, it was Georgia.
No, I'm talking about Georgia.
Yeah, Missouri and Georgia.
Yeah, Missouri and Georgia. Yeah, you look at
one
that.
One drive,
one drive in an unranked team. So you can see that, and now people can say, well, hey man, Missouri got a pretty good team. We're on prime time, and we're playing at 3:30, 7:30 the latest. people are able to say, "Oh wow, Arizona State has they got a good record, but they have some fight in them."
Joe, let me ask you and David a quick question. All right, let's say that they can't block the move, and let's say that USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten. And this is secondary. I have not had a chance to validate this, so I say this with a grain of salt. But I heard from a colleague yesterday that the Ohio State AD came in and said that's all we're looking at we're not looking at adding other Pac-10s to the Big Ten. That we're happy. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Again, I got it secondhand. My question for both of you gentlemen is this: let's say the teams go. That now opens up. Ohio State comes out and recruits Los Angeles. Michigan comes out and recruits Los Angeles. Penn State comes out and recruits Los Angeles. Does that open up these California kids? Because now they could say, well, you're coming back home a couple times to play, and we're going to be coming. It's not like you're never going to see your home again. You're both California kids. Now that whole market out there, awfully good football right now. 3 teams in the Big Ten, I believe. Ohio State, as of yesterday, was 3. Michigan was 4, and I think Penn State's 10. That now opens up LA for a lot of Big Ten recruiting. What does that do to the Pac-12, excuse me?
Well, I would say first, before I'm going to go families. I'm going to go the families from the West Coast traveling way back here, East Coast, to see their kids play. A California mom and dad to go see their kids play at Arizona, to go see their kids play at UCLA, to go see the kids play at Washington. That travel is not as big as it would be to come way back here. So that's going to change the mindset of why would I want my kid to go to that plays in the Pac-10 now have to go to East Lansing or go to Michigan, go to Ohio State to see them play football. Not too many people want to do that because now they're coming from the weather changing. Because I'm gonna tell you something. You take some of them California people and bring them to Columbus when it's
in November
degrees.
In November,
Michigan when it's 25 degrees. Them people aren't going to travel. California folks don't want to come to the cold. They don't mind going to 70. 70 degrees is kind of cold for California people, but 30 degrees is freezing for them. Now, Joe, what do you think about when we talk about the teams?
Well, I look at it like this. Okay, here. So when you have the move, SC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten. And so that's all sports programs. So it's one thing for football. When you look at basketball, here, what are you doing to the student athlete? You're not taking from USC, and you got to play Rutgers, on a Thursday when I'm basketball, and then we play Penn State, and you're traveling. So when you're talking about volleyball, tennis, softball, and you're having to go across because every single away game is 3 hours time zone difference. And the Big Ten games start 12:30. So you're coming from California on a Friday. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to come on a Friday. Maybe you're going to have to come on a Thursday, because if you come from on a Friday, and even if you leave in the morning, you're not getting back because there's a 3-hour difference. You say you get to the airport and you leave at noon, that's 3 o'clock. And then it's a 4-hour flight, so you get in at 7 o'clock. So they're not taking all those things into consideration. But I think this is a different generation from when David and I were playing. And I would say here that when you talk about the travel and the cost of travel, but you have the NIL. And we talked about initially UW was a program that, and listening to Arizona State program, and if I'm Herm, I'm pissed because now, because they were against the NIL, and UW, well, we're not going to do it, this and that. Hey, brother, you better get on board. If you don't get on board with NIL, your program is going down.
Yeah.
But because you look at the kid, Ohio State quarterback from Ohio State, he bought every member on his team. It's 100 kids on the college. He bought all of them $500 suits. Times 100. I wasn't doing that when I was in first round pick in the Bengals.
I know.
So you look at the money, and you see where the game is going, and here a high crew, a David Fulcher coming out of Fremont getting recruited by Ohio State, Penn State, and we're offering and those kids that are going to start getting recruited by Big Ten, they're going to come in the door with some NIL deals.
Sure.
So here you're a young guy, hey, making 250,000 if you come here and with this NIL deal, 300,000 with this deal. So the economics and the NCAA put themselves in this predicament because all we were asking for was to have a sandwich, and they said no, and now they're facing potentially the death of the NCAA because of the NIL deal. I think they're going to have to corral it or try and find something to control it, but I don't know if you can control it. It's right now and it's going downhill, and it's free for all right now.
Joe, last night I was watching those games. David, I don't know if you noticed this, but if somebody said, "Hey, David, you watched the games?" Yeah, I did. Did you watch the commercials? I did. Who was the number one star of the commercials you watched yesterday? Alabama's quarterback was the number one star of the commercials I watched yesterday.
Yeah,
he was in 2 or 3 different commercials. I'm sitting here going, he didn't do that for free.
No, oh no.
He can buy a few suits too. And so your point is a good one.
Mm-hmm. He's a kid that's making. He's already. I think he's already garnered several $1 million of NIL deals. I'm saying, hey, congratulations. But here, me thinking, Dave, and you can expand on this. I'm Joe Kelly, and my quarterback is getting $2-3 million, and I'm playing middle linebacker, and I'm having the career that I'm having at UW, and I'm a pretty decent linebacker, and I don't have anybody giving me, socks, and as a kid. Kind of pissed me off, man. I'm an offensive tackle. I'm an offensive guard, and I'm kicking butt.
From what I've heard about you from David, Joe, the last thing anybody want to do is piss you more off.
Yeah.
That dude.
When someone like David Coulter says, "I hide from this guy," that's all I need to know.
And Joe, you said it, man. I mean, I don't know the way we are today. I look back at it and I go, I don't know how and what I would have done back then. But I know just the David Fulcher that I am today, it really doesn't matter. But man, if you're talking millions of dollars thrown in my face.
Oh, you'd have been a millionaire down in Tempe. You would have been a millionaire.
If my quarterback, if my safety, or if my player on my team is making all this money and I'm not, and I'm out there knocking people out and doing my job and I can't get nothing, I don't know what practice would be like. Because I might be after that dude. I'm like, man, I know you on my team, man, but you riding around in these expensive cars, and I'm still driving around in my '68 Volkswagen.
You were already in trouble for hitting starters. Your coaches were on you anyway for hitting.
They were already on me for hitting my starter, but now I'm hitting my starter because he's getting paid and I'm not. So it's kind of frustrating. But I really like what you said earlier, Joe, with the quarterback buying everybody's suits. For me, man, that just tells me that he's not a me guy.
Yeah,
he's a we guy. He's a we team guy.
Yeah.
For him to take that money that he's getting and buying his teammates $500 suits, and that's time 115, 118 guys. You know what? I take my hat off to that guy, but not everybody's like that.
No. It's I think UW now, after seeing what it's doing, is now embracing the NIL, and they've created a committee, that an alumni committee is going out and marketing, their players, because when you go out and recruit, I'm coming in, and I'm a UW coach, and I'm coming into Los Angeles to recruit a David Fulcher, who is talking to USC, and USC is telling them what they can offer, and UCLA, and now we go to, and we're playing Ohio State in the shoe. We're playing Michigan, and right now, being that the Pac-12, this year we have five teams in the top 15. So it's been a while since we've been that viable. but it's going to be, you know, finances here. I'm USC and I'm Oregon, I'm Arizona State, and I'm trying to recruit Dave, and I'm saying I have to bring some NIL deals. You know, hey Dave, you know, and I'm going to talk about all the negatives. You don't want to go, you know, to USC. You don't want to go to Ohio State, you know, because you have this. And then he goes over there, and they're telling him, I can offer you the world. So it's you know, it's going to be a different animal. Because you know we're gonna have or do some creative things in order to keep that West Coast talent in the Pac-12, because you have other kids, you know, kids from Alabama. He's he's from the West Coast.
Yes.
You know, so you look and here, there's nothing in Tuscaloosa for a West Coast kid. We look the town. You know, there's nothing appealing about that. So
I've been there multiple times, and I agree with you. It's a beautiful campus.
yeah.
You don't lose many football games, but
Yeah.
LA versus Tuscaloosa is a little different.
Yeah. So, but you know, there's extenuating circumstances, you know, that they can put on the table, and you, especially when you're talking and you're recruiting, you know, kids who are in lower economic areas. And all of a sudden you're 18, and you're potentially at 18, you're going to make more money at 18 than your parents are making. You know, so you know you know, Pac-12 is going to have to embrace this NIL. They're going to have to start getting creative with this NIL in order to keep this West Coast talent on the West Coast. Or unfortunately, I don't see two viable programs that can add the worth to say, okay, here, now we want to increase the TV revenue. And they're going to say, okay, you added, I don't know, just, you know, some teams from the Mid-American Conference or something, you know, unless we were able to pillage two teams from the Big 12, Big 10, SEC. I don't see any other program out there unless you got a Notre Dame, you know, something like that, or you know, potentially there was conversation or rumors that University of Washington, University of Oregon becoming independent and setting their own schedule, and you know, being able to say, come now, Washington, Oregon can come down in the California area and say, well, hey, you know, we're not tied to the Pac-12 anymore because the Pac-12 is whatever. And you know, here we're scheduling Alabama, we're scheduling Penn State, we're scheduling Ohio State. You know, we have we can probably still maintain our relationships with, you know, Arizona State playing Arizona if they were to defect. Washington, more than likely they'll still continue to play Oregon and Washington State. But when you add, you know, a Big 10 team, a Big 12 team, maybe an SEC team in there, in order to stay viable in the national, you know, race, because with SC and UCLA gone, and here right now, the two programs that are left, Washington, Oregon, and you're playing Stanford, Arizona, Colorado. You still have Utah still in there, but you don't have enough opponents, quality opponents, based on what the you know, the Midwest and the East Coast thinks about our football. You won't have the quality opponents to stay in the national title race. You'll never get ranked. No matter if we know here, Arizona State becomes, their program goes up and they're beating Colorado by 50 and Arizona by 40 and Washington State by 20. Well, those are all unranked teams. You know, and now
no
we're not a
quality win whatsoever.
Yeah, no quality win. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm hoping because I'm Pac-12. I don't care what's now. You know, people saying now. You know, I believe in the talent. You know, from the West Coast. I'm a Pac-12 guy. I'll die a Pac-12 guy. You know, I'm going to root. I rooted, despite Oregon being a hated rival. I was rooting for Oregon when they played Georgia. You know, Arizona State come out and play Michigan. I'm rooting for every Pac-12 team. I don't care who it is. I'll never root for Ohio State. I'll never root for Alabama. You know, I'll never root for anybody in those conferences. I'm always going to root for.
Now I know why
Pac-12.
you and David are so now it's all becoming clearer to me now.
Yeah.
I
And
understand.
we've always been like that, Dave. We've
Yeah.
always been that way, no matter what, man. Anytime there's a Pac team, a Pac-12 team, Pac-10 team playing somebody else out there, as long as we're not playing, we play against each other, we vote for our school. But when we play against somebody outside of that, you know, hey, listen, man, beat them up. Beat them up badly because we don't want them anymore. So listen, Dave, you had a question for Joe. You were talking to me earlier about,
I did.
I want you to get to that so we can go ahead and wrap this up. But go ahead,
Sure.
Dave, go ahead and do that for me.
Yeah, Joe, before we lose you as a guest today, you know, I'm an avid sports fan. I've been following, I grew up in Canton, Ohio, Pro Football Hall of Fame city. And I was in Big Ten country, so I understand everything you're talking about right now. You played for one of the best coaches, arguably one of the best football coaches ever, in Don James.
Yeah.
I think back in '85, you were the team MVP. And in a nutshell, what was it like to play for him? What was it like to play for a legend? And not only what did he teach you about football, what did he teach you about life?
You know, it was never about you. You know, it was always about the better good of the team. It was about you becoming a better person. It was about developing you as a man and a responsible man. And I can truly say anybody that played for Don James, you see some of the things are the type of men that they've become after, you know, playing for Don James. It's the attention to detail. It was the preparation and doing things and programming your life based on how you were molded from an 18-year-old kid to a 21-year-old kid. And you know, it was just when I first got there, the mystique. You know, he would stand in this tower for practice, and you look at this little guy standing up in the tower in this mystique, and going into his office. His office set there was a little podium. So when you walked up, there was this grand desk, you know, and this little guy in stature, but you know, this guy is sitting in there and he's big as King Kong, you know, you know, and you know, he was all about you. He always was really worried about, it wasn't about, you know, developing NFL players. It was about developing the person, and developing here. You looked out for your teammates. You know, you looked out for each other. You were doing it. You weren't here representing. I wasn't there representing Joe Kelly. I was there representing my mother. I was there representing my family. And now I'm representing UW. So when you go out, anytime you go out, just make sure, hey, just be responsible. So it was, and that was everything. That was everything. That was all the time.
That's
you know,
fabulous.
and yeah, you know, and that was the guy that the mystique, and you know, I don't know if you guys may be aware that Nick Saban is a Don James protege. Nick was going to be a used car salesman when he left Kent State. His father sold used cars, and DJ talked him into coming and being a grad assistant. And he told DJ that he was going to give it a year. He gave it a year, and you look at one of the most successful coaches in history, Nick Saban.
The rest is history, huh?
Yeah, wow. He's a Don James protege.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous story.
Yeah, if you hear him talking about him model his program and how attention to every detail in football, first and 10, second and short, second and mid, second and long, the special teams, different situations, turnover situations, you know, he's going to cover the entire gamut. And you look at Nick Saban, you know, he runs his practice like that. And Nick Saban, he's tough, you know, and Don James was tough. I remember real quick, during one practice, a guy broke his leg, bone sticking out. You know, we took about it's moved the drill. So we literally moved the drill 10 yards over here. He's laying on the ground over there with his the bones out of his sock. but we had to stay, because that can happen in a game. Let's keep going, and he tended, after and dealt with my buddy at the time. But it was, I am focused. There's nothing that can derail me. We stay focused. You go and play Arizona State, and it's 8,000 degrees. That it's going to be hot. It's going to be noisy. So it was always the attention to detail for Coach James, and
Thank you.
God rest his soul. Love him to death.
Thank you for being with us, David. Do you have anything else for Joe?
No, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, brother, man. I know I'll see you around, man. Thanks for getting on our podcast, man. And
appreciate it.
I know UW, but go Sun Devils, man. More
Sun Devils. We got to get back on track, baby. Unfortunately, Dave, I apologize, in advance, but we got to get back on track, brother.
All right, my friend. Take care, man. See you, brother.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
See you, Joe.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
All right, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
All right. So wow, man, that was pretty good, man. Joe's a cool dude, man. I mean, we battled in high school. We battled in college. It was funny. So in high school, the 3 years in high school, they had the better football team, but we beat them all 3 years.
Right.
They went to the state championship or the city championship. They went to the playoffs. We couldn't go to playoffs. We didn't do nothing, but we would always beat Jefferson. And then we both leave high school, go to University of Washington, go to Arizona State. Joe beat us. We couldn't beat them.
Right.
We had a chance. We were undefeated one year, getting ready to go to the Rose Bowl, and they came in our house and beat us. And then we both get drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals. He went number one. We had 2 number 1 picks that year, him and Tim McGee. And then we had one number 2. We had 1 second-round pick, Lewis Phillips, and then we had 3 third-round picks, Mike Hammerstein, Jim Scowl, and David Fulton.
Wow, I remember those names.
And when we became teammates, and it was funny because when I saw Joe, when all the rookies came in and I saw Joe, I looked at him, I said, dang, dude, we just can't get away from each other. And here he is in Cincinnati, and I didn't get a chance to ask him, but he has, he started Kelly Youth Services that helps underprivileged kids in the communities and kids who are in the system. He helps them, man. He's been doing it for almost 30 years now. So,
David, you know what's funny? I was thinking about this yesterday. By the end of the season, I love doing these podcasts with you, and I know that you do too. But by the end of the season, we should take a look at our guests. I think we will have the all podcast team. Okay, we have Thurman Thomas at running back. We had the coach from Trine, who I believe was an all-world linebacker himself. You got Munoz at left tackle. You got your friend DC. You got Daryl running in the running back. You got Joe playing linebacker. By the time our podcasts are over at the end of the season, we will have an all podcast team that I wouldn't mind you at safety. I wouldn't mind to battle with.
No doubt, Dave. And I think what has given me the opportunity and Believe gave us an opportunity to just talk football. Things that we've been doing, I've been doing, and then you're a national speaker. It's really common and really cool that I can get on here with a guy that kind of knows exactly what he's talking about, the flow. And you give me, you give me that edge of you throw it out, David. I'm gonna throw it. David throws it to me and I catch the ball. David throws it out to me and I tackle the ball. And it makes it easy for us to do what we do. And I think that's why we can get guests who know about football. We can get guests who knows about life. That question to Joe about, Don James, we've all had dads. We were born with a daddy, but we also had another dad. And Joe Kelly's dad, Don James, the football coach. My dad, Willie Shaw, which we'll have on here pretty soon. Him and his son agreed to come on here when we play Stanford.
That's fabulous.
We'll have both of them on here. So, think about that. I mean, David Shaw, head coach at Stanford, was my ball boy, our ball boy when I was at Arizona State.
Yeah. And
now he's the head coach at Stanford. So, when we talk about believe in Arizona State, it's more than just believe in Arizona State. It's more than believe in the people that who can come on this podcast and give us the 1-2 punch. And right now, the double Ds, D squared, David Fulton, David Coleman, that's what we're doing. So, brother, I would can't wait till we get the next one on here, man, because I think we love what we do. And hopefully Arizona State can play like they played against SC in that first half and play a complete football game against University.
I think they're going to surprise us. I think we're going to have a real nice. If they win, great. I think it'll happen. Hopefully. But if not, we're still going to talk about a great effort that they gave, and we'll process that. But I think they're gonna. They brought their game. USC's no joke.
No,
They
they're
brought
not.
their game. They played hard. I told you they executed quickly. They did the best they could for a long while, and then there's just a few more horses, and they're awfully quick over there and awfully talented. But I do believe they will give Washington everything they have.
Yes.
And Washington's going to know they're in a football game.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. Another one is down, and I look forward to next week, and I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Take care, Cincinnati.